the critics and your fear. There's no easy way to hear. And all the memories you love to bring, with all the things that you hate to scream. So tell me, I'm hollow on the inside. There's no trying to hide from this monster inside me. So if you try to criticize me like the world defines me, image of what I have become.
Welcome back to yet another sad, depressing episode of the Browns Beat Podcast. I am one half of your co-host. My name is Tristan. I'm here with my man Derek. And Derek, wow. If you thought this season was depressing and a void and just absolute despair, you didn't watch last week's game because it's even worse. It's even worse. Man, before we actually get into that, Derek, how you doing today, man?
Just terrible, Tristan. How are you? No. It's just like you said. What a time. What a time to. I don't know. I mean, we've tried to really hold on to hope with this team with a lot of different things for a while. It just feels like this year there's just nothing to hold on to, which is unfortunate because there is a lot to hold on to. But to further answer your question, Tristan, I didn't plan on bringing this up, but I'm going to bring it up real fast here. To make the weekend even worse, John Cena's last match, the retirement tour, and, everybody's upset right now. Tristan, I don't know how much you saw or even care about it at all, but I just want to share my 2 cents and say that was bullshit. As somebody who was born in 2002 when John Cena started, I, like many of you who will probably see this because I'll clip this, was a John Cena kid for a period of time, as most of us were. As dumb as this is to say, like, the WWE is entertainment and it's scripted and it's, everybody knows this. Tristan, man, when the guy of your childhood, is growing up, when you are growing up with the guy of your childhood, the main character of your childhood saying, never give up, and then he gives up in the end. I don't know. It's nothing I'm going to lose sleep over. I just wanted to share my 2 cents and say, I don't get how that makes sense. To all you older people out there, Hulk Hogan was your John Cena. And, imagine if Hulk Hogan, at the end of his career, the icon Hulk Hogan just gave up. Just gave up. That was it. Just gave up with a smile on his face. Just dumb. Just dumb. So, to everybody who's outraged, there's a lot of people who are going to hear that and be like, oh, you're all upset about WWE. Well, guess what? It's not that. It's not even that. Tristan, there's a lot of people, including myself, who haven't watched, who haven't cared in years. But you know what? When your guy's back, sometimes you got to tune in. And it's like, man. We just saw the return, Tristan. I know we're going a little off the rails here, but the return of Phillip Rivers. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers returned to the NFL and put up a better performance than whatever that was. And, that's scripted. So some might argue the NFL is scripted too, which you're probably right. But, it is what it is. So anyway, Tristan, it was just a fucking terrible weekend. I don't really know what else to say. So let's talk about how the Browns made it so much worse. Over to you, sir.
Well, pivoting from that bundle of sunshine and rainbows, uh, let's get into this game. So the Browns lose
Can we
31 to
not?
3, right? The Browns lose 31 to 3 to the Chicago Bears. Um, and I'm gonna start with the biggest, the first thing that was noticeable, very beginning of this game. Yet again, it's special teams. I mean, you give up a bad punt return, or sorry, kickoff return, uh, setting up Chicago in prime real estate, which defense does well. They hold firm and they force a punt. But yet again, special teams fails and balls down at the 1 yard line. Um, Already terrible situation created by special teams, which the offense, which we'll get into at some point, uh, wasn't able to make it work, get a first down from the 1 yard line, which then turned into
Pause. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah.
First play of the game was a delay of game, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
The offensive first snap on offense. I wasn't going to touch on it now. If you want, we can talk about it right now.
All right. We have to.
All right. Go ahead.
Tristan, how the fuck do you go from getting the ball on your 1 yard line? 1 yard line to a delay of game, and then let's just rip the Band-Aid off of all this. Like, let's just tear it all down from the beginning. Tristan, how the fuck is there a mishap with the wristband? Now, I know there are a lot of different rumors, speculation, and theories as to how this happened, but Tristan, regardless, whether it was Kevin Stefanski's fault with the wristband, whether if it was Shedeur Sanders' fault with the wristband, Tristan, how this game started was just the perfect mirror, the perfect reflection of what the Cleveland Browns are this year. Just an absolute joke. Like, it might as well be a comedy skit. Who's the sorry bastards that the Harlem Globetrotters played against? Every game. You know what I'm talking about?
I know who the Harlem Globetrotters
Yeah.
are. I have no idea who they play against, but
I forget, but those sorry bastards, their whole job is to look miserable and look like a joke. That's what this game looked like, Tristan. And from the very start, again, going back to what we're talking about here, how? Explain to me another NFL franchise, Tristan, that has the opening to a game the way the Browns did. Horrible special teams. You have the wristband incident. You go out there and you get a delay of game. And not only that, Tristan, you did it multiple times. Didn't they get another delay of game that same drive?
I
Am I
don't
wrong
know
on
if
that?
it was. So there were 3 penalties on the first 5 snaps on offense. I know
Oh
the
my
first,
gosh.
the very first was delay of game. The second was a false start, which, by the way, that false start occurred, unless if I'm miraculously misremembering this, I think that the false start occurred right after the delay of game. So we got from the 1 yard line, which a yard is 3 feet. So taken back to 18 inches, a yard, a foot and a half. And then we got another penalty, which was half distance to the goal, which took us back to 9 inches from the goal line. Yeah, just terrible. And then I can't remember what the third penalty was to save my life, but I just, yeah.
He's
It was
got to be
bad.
trying to lose his job. Tristan, I tweeted it. You cannot give me any sort of logistical reasoning as to how Kevin Stefanski, and I'm not trying to just blame Kevin, he's the head coach of the team, how the team is and looks and everything that happens at the end of the day goes back on him. There's no way he's trying to get himself fired. There's just no way.
The only argument I would have is that he's not trying to get himself fired. He already knows that he is. And so he's
Either
just
way.
mailing it in. I mean, regardless, I mean, you're right, though. It's inexcusable. Like, to start off a game that terribly. Like, sure, you don't picture that your first series on offense is going to be at the 1 yard line. In terms of the wristband thing, easy as this. Shadur, Kev, Tommy, all of them deserve blame. Quarterback's coach, I can't even remember who it is anymore. All of them deserve blame because quarterback wasn't ready to go from the first snap of the game, and that's on all of them. Everything else from that point on and everything that we've seen has been a lot of coaching woes, and that has to fall on somebody specifically at one point if it keeps on happening, which it is going to fall on Kev. We've had these conversations about what we think of him, but before I get further into that, just with the game starting with special teams, getting us down to the 1, obviously the monstrosity that happens on offense thereafter, and then immediately we punt it back, and immediately it's returned back into good positioning on the field, and the defense essentially has to try again from that exact same situation that they were put in terribly before. And Ben Johnson's a great play caller, and this Bears team, it's a well-coached team. I'm still not a big Caleb Williams believer, but when you have a team that's that well coached, they're gonna beat you. They're gonna beat your defense, even if your defense has enormous talent and is a well coached defense. It's gonna get beat. So it got beat. Then from there it was just a nonstop spiral that Derek, it made the game really hard to pay attention to, because why would I care to follow along if the team that's on the field just looks like they want to get out of there? That's not representative of me and my time and what I think of this team. So, I was very loosely watching the rest of the game. And honestly, I was really only watching one person the rest of the game. And that was Shadur Sanders in the offense, because I've seen what I need to see on my defense to know what I need to know going into next year. So, I'll pass it off to you, and we'll wrap up special teams because I feel like that's just a big bundle mess that we can just move on from and talk about the rest of this game as quickly as possible. Outside of, I will one last thing say, Andre Schmidt hit his kicks again. If there's one positive for that special teams unit, it's him. It's him. He's really stepped up, but doesn't matter because we still lose. So, Derek, talk to me, man. Kind of give me your final thoughts on special teams before we quickly move on to anything else from this game.
I mean, there's really nothing that can be said. You walk up to a wall, you take your head, and you just keep smacking it up against the wall, expecting something to change. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're only hurting yourself. I don't know what else to do. And Tristan, it's the most laughable part about this whole thing is we literally had a conversation a week ago where the both of us went back and forth and talked about how brain dead stupid it is, the fact that this hasn't been addressed way previously. And here we are a week later, and the very start of the game is special teams issues. Go figure. Go figure. They were talking about it on the broadcast. I don't remember who exactly was on the call, but one of them had made the point of like, yeah, special teams has been kind of a problem for the Browns, and it's like, no shit. Duh. like you said, I mean, it's the seatbelt. If it's there, great. You don't have to worry about it. No problem. You don't need the strongest seatbelt in the world. You don't need 5 of them holding you in. You just need one good one. One decent one. Does the job. But when you don't have it, good Lord. Good Lord. So, we spin tires. We spin tires because they choose to spin tires.
Yeah. So let's move on. Traditionally we like to talk defense and get that out of the way, but honestly, like, you know what? Yeah, let's get into the defense because that should be fairly quick. Derek, the biggest thing for me with this defense today, or not today, excuse me, yesterday, or 2 days ago now because we're recording this on Tuesday, but the biggest thing for me was that it felt like for the first time this year you saw them actually give up. You saw them just flat out just stop. And listen, there's a lot of people that are going to kill him for that, and understandably, and I'd argue rightfully so. But at the same time, we should also point out the fact that this defense has had reason to give up way quicker into this season than they have. Yeah, it's just, for me, this was the defense giving up on the team, realizing that the issues with this team are bigger than they are capable of fixing. And these guys are over it. They're over this year. And I can't really sit here and say that I blame them because we as fans feel the same way. So with that being said, they still do deserve criticism for this game. The past 2 games, they've gotten absolutely torched on the ground, which is just not okay. Especially the expectations that we have for this defensive line. It's very clear, I will also say this, that missing Malik Collins is a huge miss. We obviously knew how big of an impact he was having. I don't think that we knew the level of impact, the depth of impact that he was having until he was fully removed. So, yeah, outside of that, defensively, I really don't have much else to say. It's hard to point fingers at individuals. At least for me, I will say it's hard to point fingers at individuals when it just really looks like the team as a whole is kind of falling apart and the care is just not there. Only thing that we're playing for on that defensive side of the ball right now is Myles Garrett and his sack record. That's it. That's really it. So, yeah, it's just, I just want the season to be over, Derek.
Yeah.
I want it to be over. Like, but before we go into that, give me your thoughts on the defense from Sunday.
Well, the Bears came out early and established the run game. The Browns couldn't do anything about it, and in turn, it opened up the pass game. I mean, that pretty much is the story of the game as far as the defense goes. DeAndre Swift, 18 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. And, you know, how they were doing it, they were getting to the edge, right? A lot of what they were doing was really wide running, and just kind of making the Browns work sideline to sideline, and they just couldn't do anything about it. Monungai had 11 carries for 33 yards, so he didn't really do a whole lot, but like I said, what DeAndre Swift did early in that game was just kind of, I don't want to say the tone setter because you don't lose the game on the first couple of drives, but like, I mean, when a team comes out there and basically says, yeah, we're going to do what we want, you know, like it just kind of is what it is. And in turn from there, Tristan, you know, and they didn't have Rome Odunze, which I kind of thought was like, okay, you know, they're probably going to lean heavy on the run game. But I like the Browns' chances there. Couldn't stop it. And like I said, in turn in the pass game, Luther Burden, 84 yards. DJ Moore, 69 yards. Colson Loveland, 63 yards. Cole Kmet, 28 yards. So Tristan, this game I thought could have it was a blowout. 3-31 is a blowout. But this game easily could have been in the 40s, maybe even 50s. For the Bears. It felt to me like you said, the Browns have given up. Myles Garrett's trying to get his sack record, which I really hope he does. I don't understand how the numbers shook out the way they did a little bit with that game. I think he got a little screwed there. But nevertheless, Tristan, I'm not surprised. This is what you're going to get the rest of the year. And when this defense doesn't have any help from the offense, you can't really blame them. The only person that I will make a point to mention, unfortunately, Devin Bush had a really bad game. And he has been hooping all year. Devin Bush has been awesome. Actually, so much so, this is statistically his best year in the NFL. And it's not even close. So it's unfortunate. It is. I hope at least, Tristan, we don't really have a whole lot to project and break down as far as the season is concerned. But I hope that over the course of the next 3 games we have left or whatever it is, I hope we do see some better performances out of a guy like Devin Bush to keep him around. The only other guy I'll mention really quickly here, Mason Graham. Mason Graham has struggled, and I don't know if it is. I think it's a combination of where you're at in the season. I think it's a combination of the injuries, and also the fact that there's really no point. But I will say, Tristan, that is a guy this offseason I do want to spend a lot of time talking about, because what we've seen from him this year is enough to be positive. But over these next couple of games, now that you don't have as much help next to you, what is that going to look like? I think he's having to adapt on the fly here, and I'm excited to see, where he goes, positive or negative. It's going to be learning. So that's all I have on the defense. Do you have anything you want to throw in before we move on to the actual important part of this?
Not really. Just kind of like a response to Mason Graham. I think that there's some people that are a bit hypercritical of him, especially because he hasn't had the impact that like Carson Schwesinger has had. And what I'll say is this: in the NFL, it's a completely different. The guys that you're lined up against on the offensive and defensive lines, completely different from what you get at college. In terms of the linebacking units and stuff like that, sure, the speed of the game is a bit quicker and you have better athletes that you're going against, but you're not going against completely different sized human beings. And it's a bit of a different adjustment. And you see this a lot where linemen in particular, they typically take a bit longer to develop and really hit their full strides and look fantastic. We as Browns fans, we saw this firsthand with Will Campbell against Myles Garrett. He got absolutely whooped in that game. And that's not at all an indictment on Will Campbell. I think he's going to be a fantastic tackle in the league, and I think he's probably going to be in the league as a starting left tackle for, if I had to guess, a decade. I think that highly of him. He's a very, very talented offensive lineman. But getting to the NFL and playing in the trenches in the NFL is such a hard jump. And it's going to take him a little bit longer. We might not see the fully refined, polished version of him next year. I would say by year 3 is where you would expect to see Mason Graham look to be the guy that you justified trading out of number 2 to number 5 to take. And I think you will. I think you've seen flashes already from him that have looked very, very impressive. He's had games where he's looked incredible. But he's had games where he's looked pretty invisible, if not horrible. And that's just the reality of being a rookie being a rookie in the trenches, it's just there's gonna be a lot of inconsistency. But I'm still excited for him, and I'm still excited for his trajectory. But yeah, Derek, you said it best. Let's move on. Let's talk about this offense, and I'm gonna have you start with this, Derek, because this game as a whole there's so many different areas that we can talk about, that we could start with this offense. So I want you to pick, Derek. Where would you like to start with this offense?
I'll just give you a quick overview first, and then probably go into Shedeur here. But Tristan, for me, this was just coaching malpractice. I think it was a mix between bad decisions, bad play calling, injuries, and inexperience. And it was frustrating because Tristan, this team, like, if Shedeur Sanders is going to perform at the best of his abilities, you have to have a run game. You have to have some sort of threat of a run game. And in this game, Shedeur Sanders was your leading rusher. And you hear that and you go, oh, yikes. Well, what if I were to tell you leading rusher with 24 yards? Then you're really puts it into perspective. And Tristan, Judkins, 12 carries, 21 yards. And, every time the ball was in his hands, he wasn't able to do anything. And it's, he has had tremendous amounts of success despite the offensive line, or in spite of whatever. You get the point. But in this game, you just didn't have that. And it's weird because you see guys like Ashton Genty, right, taken in the first round, great prospect. I still believe in him. A lot of people are writing him off. Just can't overcome the issues right now in Vegas. And, with Judkins, he has been able to, but this game we just couldn't. So, and then going into Shedeur here. Shedeur Sanders in this game, Tristan, I think the perspective bias is going to show from everybody, as far as if you ask Browns fans, well, hey, what do you think of how he played in this game? If you ask me, Tristan, well, first of all, the numbers. He went 18 of 35, 177 yards, 3 interceptions. The one was definitely not his fault. Jerry Jeudy sucks at football. I don't know what else to say right now. But, just based on the numbers, I think he played a little bit better than the numbers will show. But at the same time, you saw more of the habits coming back to life, maybe. But at the same time, Tristan, there was a couple times in this game he made some plays. The throw to Bond, again, Isaiah Bond, showing that he has a role in this offense. And by the way, everybody, this is the same player he's been all year. This is not like all of a sudden he woke up and learned how to play football. You've always had this deep threat with Isaiah Bond. The Browns have just not had an ability to throw the ball downfield. Shedeur Sanders is, outside of Flacco, but Shedeur Sanders is the first quarterback this year that can push the ball downfield. So now all of a sudden you're seeing things out of Isaiah Bond, and it's positives. But, Tristan, in this game, you saw those things, and then you saw the negatives. And it leaves me, I hate to say this because it's almost a cop-out, but I almost look at this game and just go, oh well. Because it was negative wind chill, it was freezing, you had offensive line failures left and right, injuries, people just not doing their assignments, and you had no run game. So I'm shocked that his numbers are as decent as they are. And we'll get into it more later, but just based on this game, Tristan, a lot of good, a lot of bad. Before I send it back over to you, I want to read these numbers real fast. Bond was your leading receiver with 89 yards. Fannin with 48, and then Jeudy with 22 was your was your top three. So obviously, when you don't have a run game, it just doesn't work. So I think it's pretty black and white. I don't really. There's no mystery here. Like, we're at the point where there's no, hey, why does it suck? Well, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. So, Tristan, what was your take on the offense, and what was your take on Mr. Sanders' performance?
Yeah. So let me kind of touch up on him last here, because I think it sets the scene for talking about his performance. Coming into the game, compared to your week 1 starters, you had one guy left that was an actual starter for that game, which is Joel Bitonio. Everybody else in that line was a new starter. Or shouldn't say is a new starter, but was not a starter week 1. And it showed. It showed, man. This offensive line got taken to the woodshed. You mentioned it, missed assignments, not getting anything in the run game. Should some of that be put on Quinshon? Maybe. But just like, I feel like a lot of it kind of should be put on the fact that your offensive line was terrible. Man, I don't even know what to say with that unit, other than just I legit think that you might need an entire new 5 starting offensive linemen. Like, and I'm not even talking about like, a different 5 from the one that you had starting week 1. I'm talking like completely new guys that aren't even on the team. All 5 positions, brand new guys. Like, it might be that dire. Maybe you can get something out of Luke Whippler. Maybe you can get something out of Tevin Jenkins. And who knows what's going on with rookie that we drafted last year, the guard from Michigan.
Zach
Zinter. Maybe you can somehow find a way to get something out of him. At this point, I don't know how optimistic I feel about that. It's just everything, Derek. Just, it's such a mess, that offensive line, and you cannot trust a single guy to return via, like, a la Joel Bitonio. We don't know if he's going to end up returning. And even of the guys that you will have returning.
You don't want him returning, first of all.
No.
Let that man go.
Yes. Like, Joel Bitonio, man, the utmost respect. Fantastic offensive lineman. He's been just an absolute beast for us his entire career. Honestly, if I were in his shoes, I would say I'm either done or I'm going to try to go somewhere and win a Super Bowl. Those are the only two. I think it would be us asking too much out of him to come back. Like, that's asking a ton out of him. But if he really wants to, and this is the place he wants to be, then fair enough. But regardless, like, either you're going to have him retire or you're going to have guys that come back and you can't trust. You cannot trust. So it's a dire situation, this offensive line. Moving on though, receiving game. I think if your name is not Harold Fannin or Isaiah Bond, you can't look at yourself and say that you had a great game. You can't say that you had any impact whatsoever. And yeah, like, those two are really the only two that I look at and I can point at and I can say, going forward, you're going to have a role in this team, especially next year. They're the only two guys. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy, I'll get into it right now. There are some people who I saw being a little bit critical of Shedur's throw, saying that it could have been placed a little further outside. Maybe that's true, right? Like, in a hypercritical world, could it have been? Yeah. but at the same time, it hit him in the chest and it bounced off of his chest to be intercepted. The corner had his back to him. If he just, hell, even if he treats it like a back shoulder throw, right? And he kind of falls backwards with the ball, right? It's a touchdown. Like, the guy's getting paid a great amount of money because he's supposed to be able to make plays like that, and it's the up and down with Jerry Jeudy, man. Like, you see some stuff from him and you're like, man, that's a great wide receiver. I get why we paid him and I'm excited for him. And then you see stuff like that and it's just like, it makes you sick. It makes you so sick. Like, he's had the drops issues this whole year. He's had drops issues. He's cleaned it up in recent weeks, which is great. But then you have a moment like that where you need him to make a play and he doesn't. Like, he even made a play, I want to say it was earlier in the game where, I think it was earlier in the game. It might have been later. But, like, Shadur did a great job. He stepped up in the pocket, escaped to his left. He was improvising and then bullet right to Jerry along the sidelines, toe tap, like a beautiful catch. And, like, that's where it gets frustrating with Jerry Jeudy, is because you can see that he's capable of making plays like that, but then he puts his team in a terrible position because he doesn't execute. And it's the inconsistency of his execution, which is just so frustrating.
Can I just want to jump in
go ahead and
real
jump in.
fast on Jeudy.
Yeah.
If this team, whatever makeup of this organization, is deciding on the draft and free agency, if the plan is, or I should say if the plan is not to bring in 2 receivers to be your number 1 and number 2, get Jerry Jeudy off the team. Get him off the team. He cannot be on this team if he's playing a pivotal role. Like, he just can't. You cannot have a guy, like you said, with the inconsistencies and, more importantly, the attitude. This is going to carry over into next year. If they just plan on running it back or adding one more receiver or, just a decent, another option, it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a shit show again. He's going to get traded at the bye week. It's going to be a whole thing.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I look at Jerry and I say, like, if he went to a place like Buffalo, like, I think he would actually be fairly successful in Buffalo, assuming that he stops dropping the football. Like, take away the dropping issues, like, he's been a good wide receiver. It's can't trust him to catch the football, and that's his job. And it's frustrating because that was a play where your quarterback made a great throw. If you want to argue, it could have been better, whatever. But he made a great throw, gave you an opportunity to make a play on a ball, and you gave it away. Not only did you not make the play, but you gave it away to the other team. Like, that's just, it's sickening. So I'll leave that there with him. Harold Fannin, he is a beast, man. Like, I look at him and, like, I know that Quinshon is kind of like the guy that you look at and you're like, man, like, that guy gives me like Nick Chubb vibes. I look at Harold Fannin the same way. Like, that guy fights like hell for every single yard, and he's one of the only reasons why I keep watching, because watching him is a joy. And the fact that we've got him for at minimum another 3 years, it's exciting. And yeah, I'm excited to see what we get from him. Isaiah Bond, you see what you get in him, and it's the ability to make those explosive plays. And it's a shame that we didn't get a chance to see it earlier on this season. I know that, especially that one episode that I shared those screenshots with you. Like, I remember he had at least 1 or 2 plays that he absolutely could have had a huge impact, and he just never got the opportunity. Yeah, man. Yeah, but Any other comments on the receiving game, the offensive line? I guess I've also mentioned Quinshon. Yeah, wasn't really able to do much in this game. Dylan Sampson felt like he was underutilized. This is the type of game where I would have liked to see Dylan Sampson be more involved. Or was he out injured? You think he was out injured, wasn't he? I'm pretty confident he was. Let me look into that right now. But anyways, proceed.
He is not on the stat sheet at all, so I'm pretty sure he was injured. I don't really have anything else other than what I've said to say, other than Shedeur took 5 sacks in the game, which that's kind of what I meant earlier when I said reverting back to some of the old habits. But I just wanted to clarify what I meant on that. A lot of that was out of his control. It's a 3-31 loss. Like, you're fighting from behind. But I will say, like, for all the bad that you can say about how he performed in this game, Tristan, like I said earlier, I'm more impressed with the moments we did see. Even though it was just flashes, small things. The throw to Bond, right? Fannin continuing to have a great connection with him. Those are things you can look at as positives, but aside from that, nothing. Not a single positive from this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree. In terms of Shedeur's play, and by the way, I did check. Sampson was in fact out. I knew that. I forgot it, and then I remembered, which sucks because this would have been a game where he absolutely would have and should have been utilized, especially if Quinshon was shut down the way he was, which he was. With Shedeur, when I look at that game, like, yeah, there were definitely some things where I look at and I say, like, yeah, that's an issue and that needs to be cleaned up. But I keep on seeing, even if his performances and his output isn't always there, I see aspects to his game that impress me every week. And I see things where it's like, okay, that is improvement. That you wouldn't have done in weeks past. So, like, especially still somewhat earlier in the game, you saw him on several occasions really step up into the pocket. And there was one play in particular early on in the game where steps up in the pocket, doesn't have anything, eventually escapes it, tucks the ball, runs, almost gets the first down. It was called a first down at first, but then he was marked half a yard short, which you were already down 14-0 at that point. Just go for it. You have nothing to lose, right? But punted the ball away. But, like, it's moments like that where it's like, old Shedeur, he's doing that dumb spin out from the back, and then he's panicking, and then he's going to throw a pick. He did really well on that play in particular. He had great throws, great plays to Isaiah Bond. I thought in terms of hitting his checkdowns and going through his reads, I thought he did a fairly good job of that. Obviously, the Judy pick we talked about. I was kind of passively watching the rest of the game. I wasn't going to live and die by every moment. And so I didn't get a chance to see the one interception that it got tipped. Derek, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. I heard that it was a tip ball and that it really wasn't on him, but I can't say that for certain. But the last interception, the sideline throw, that came out of his hand as a duck. Like, that was just, yes, weather does play a factor, but he already had a weather game previously. He knows he knows in those conditions he has to be a little bit more cautious, and his technique has to be refined. That ball came out of his hand as a duck, and it was just, yeah, that was not a good interception. The other two are debatable, but again, I didn't see the one. So, yeah, Derek, I'll let you take it over from here. So, did you get a chance to see the tip ball interception? Was that in fact on him?
Yeah, I was trying to think. If I remember correctly, it was tipped. But I mean, what does it even matter? you know.
Yeah. Yeah, fair
Um,
enough.
but last thing I'll say to your point, like him stepping up. There was a couple times in that game, in particular. There was one I can't remember what it was, but pressure in his face, and I could literally see it click in his brain. Where typically, like he was stepping back like this, and you saw him kind of hesitate because he went to go like this, and instead you see him go forward. And like as I saw that, I'm like, yes, right there, good job. Like those are the things, those little things, like in those split moments of instead of hey, I'm gonna go backwards, that thought process of like nope, step up. Eventually, that's gonna become second nature, and he's just gonna do it. So yes, to your point, great, love it, awesome. Those things were great. But at the end of the day, Tristan, I think this was an idiotic game to be played outdoors. Freezing temperatures. I think there's a big difference between, fun weather football and stupid weather football. This game, the Chiefs-Dolphins game a couple years ago, when that was really cool, it's just stupid. It's just dumb. And listen, I love outdoor football. The Snow Bowl when we went was like one of the funnest moments of my life. But at the end of the day, dude, I don't care. I don't care about it being a weather game and being, both teams have to deal with it. Like, I don't know. But in terms of Shador, I think you take the positives, you take the negatives, and you just kind of put it on the resume and don't look at it as that big of a deal is kind of how I look at it with this game. But Tristan, let's go forward here. Honestly, we could have opened with this question. And this could have been an hour conversation in itself. But for the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, Tristan, let's discuss this in closing. How does Kevin Stefanski have a job?
I don't know, man.
Cool, good talk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, next topic. No, I'm kidding. I have a lot of respect for Kev, and I have a lot of respect for the stuff he's done while he's been here. He's had chaotic situation after chaotic situation, obviously, with Baker. He had that tumultuous situation, and especially when it came to Deshaun Watson. That whole mess, and now he regardless if you like Shador or not, everybody can attest to the fact that there is a magnifying glass when it comes to the media, more so than any other rookie quarterback, or I'd even argue over any other quarterback in the league. And the amount of stuff that he's had to deal with outside of football has been a lot, and I feel like for the most part he's handled it well. But at the same time, man, it's just like I can't. I just watched that game, and I just, those guys, they quit on him. They did. I can't look at it and say anything else. The only guys that really didn't quit were your rookies, and like I think that shows more so how bad they want to establish themselves in the league, and in particular with like a guy like Isaiah Bond and Shedeur Sanders, Harold Fannin. Those guys are playing to make sure that they have a spot on the team next year. Shedeur specifically, he's fighting so that way he can maintain the starting spot. So like the rest of the team, the guys that they've got their checks, like they've got that contract. It really didn't look like they were playing for much. And I think it goes to show just how this team feels about this, how the individuals on this team feel about the team as a whole. Again, got a lot of respect for Kev. Think he's done a good job while he's been here, but I think it's sometimes you don't want to listen to the players, and you don't want to fall onto their opinions, because ultimately they're a group of individuals who are on a losing team. But in situations like this where you have guys on this team who, like Myles Garrett, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, you have other incredibly talented players. You have a unit as talented as the defense. The fact that those guys gave up, it signals something. And I mentioned it before, and I was really angry about it, and how I said Kev needed to be fired. Tommy, name him as interim, or Jim, whatever, name him as interim. I think at this point, when you have this few games left in the season, firing Kev doesn't really do anything. So, yeah, I think at this point, might as well just stick with him the rest of the year. And then once when that plane touches down in Berea, or the day after our last game, then that should be it for him.
Yeah, I honestly understand that argument, right? You have 3 games left. What good does it do? Tristan, my problem with that, this team has quit. This team is absolutely quit. And the problem is like, you have nothing to play for as far as like the players. But 2 guys on this team have major reasons to play: Myles Garrett and Shedeur Sanders. And Tristan, my interest is, where do we sit to put those 2 in the best spot for the rest of the year? And I would have fired Kevin Stefanski weeks ago, but the fact that he's not fired as at the point of us talking about this right now, to me, is an absolute joke. I think, yeah, you have 3 games left. What good does it do? Well, I'm trying to make a decision on this quarterback. And I at the end of the day, Tristan, we'll probably save this for the next episode, because that question is getting more and more complicated. The better Shedeur plays, and the more flashes of it you see, I'm not talking consistent, but the more flashes you see, giving you reasons to invest in this kid, it makes it tougher. It does. And, if I have a coach that I'm having delay of game penalties on the opening drive, you can't remain my head coach. And Tristan, more importantly, Kevin Stefanski has won 6 of his last 31 games as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And, 2 coach of the years, yes, but it's a what have you done for me lately league. And Tristan, last year the Browns had the worst offense in football. Took Deshaun getting injured for them to come to that conclusion that they needed a change. We know if Jameis would have been playing, at the very least, you would have been in more games last year. That's undeniable. And then you look at this year. Like I said, you've won 6 of your last 31. You're tied for 29th in points scored in the whole NFL. You were tied 31st in points per game scored. I don't know how that makes sense, what I just said to you. It doesn't. Hold on. Let me reread this. You're tied for 29th worst in points scored.
Mm-hmm.
Tied for 31st in points per game. How does that make sense? I literally copied those stats down. That ain't even me. I'm trying to make sense of that. Yeah, hold on. Tied for 29th worst in points scored. Tied for 31st in points per game. So I guess that's accounting for just offense and whole team?
Yeah, I'm assuming the difference is offense and whole team. Because whole team probably takes us up to tie for 29th. That's if I had to guess. Because At least that's what I think. I don't know.
I don't know. But point being, he's won 6 of his last 31st. He's 29th in scoring. He's 31st in points per game. Whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, 2 years straight of that, can't do it. Can't do it. I don't care if he won 2 Coach of the Years. It doesn't matter to me. I need to make the best decision for the future of this franchise. That's where we are at. And when I say I mean Jimmy Haslam. Like, that is where we are at as the Cleveland Browns. And at the end of the day, it's just not sustainable. It's not. And I didn't even read this. You're 28th in rushing yards per game. You're 20th in turnovers. Like, Tristan, there's no excuse. And as I said, I can't come to any conclusion other than he's either, like you said, either he is just completely checked out or he is actively trying to get himself fired. It is one of the two. Because you cannot convince me that the coach that I watched a few years ago in the playoffs is the same coach that all of a sudden forgot how to get a play call in time. And the major missed assignments. Tristan, there was one play in that game on Sunday. They literally came through untouched. Left guard didn't even get a hand on him. And that was by design. If you go back and watch that play, that's by design. So tell me, Kevin Stefanski is an offensive mind. I can't blame Tommy. Sorry. I don't know. I just spinning tires, trying to get out of the mud. Call a fucking tow truck. Like, I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Like,
yeah. And like, the other thing is, like, the identity of this team under Kevin Stefanski was the running game. When we had Chubb, Hunt, the offensive line that we had, that was our identity. The passing attack's never really been there his entire time here. But the moment that Bill Callahan left, the offensive identity really just it dissipated. It was gone. Yes, it's synonymous with Nick Chubb and his situation. But since Bill Callahan has left, this team has not had an identity in the run game. It hasn't. And yeah, at that point, was it Kev or was it Bill when it comes to what that offense was before? Yeah, what I do know is this. I think I've just seen enough. I think the team has checked out. Yeah, I know I'm done. But at the same time, honestly, I wonder if upper management is worried about firing Kev, and then getting a response from the team and getting a worse draft pick. Because you do see that sometimes and this isn't me saying that the players like hate Kev or that they're not playing for him and that's why. It's more so just that sometimes whenever you have a coach that's fired, you get an immediate response from the team. Whenever there's a big trade or whatever happens, like, you see responses like that, like we saw against the Jets, which I don't want to think about that game again. But that team, like, the defense got decimated, yet they won the game. They found a way. So, like, just stuff like that can be weird. Yeah. I understand your point though. Like, it could make sense to in terms of what's best for the team right now. Maybe firing Kev would be that, but I don't know as though I necessarily agree. But yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an absolute joke. I will say this much. This is the last thing I'll say. Credit even though I view it as a bad thing, I guess credit to Jimmy Haslam, because if in the past he would have done it way sooner. And for the love of God, if I owned this team, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm sure he does a great job, but I'd tear it down to the studs as much as I could. The janitor, I mean, if we need to replace him or her, like, you know, I mean, it's that bad. It's that bad, and like I said, spinning tires in the mud, trying to get out, and you're just digging a deeper hole. So, with that being said, Tristan, I say we just wrap it up right there. This has been about an hour of talking about the shithole team that resides in Cleveland, Ohio. So
Yeah. I don't know how we made it here, but we did. That was painful. And if you're still listening, I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, man.
The only good news is at some point here in the near future, when we get to it, we'll be talking about the draft. We'll be talking about free agency and those sort of things. But I can't even get myself excited for that right now because I don't know what we need. I don't know if I'm going to have to, you know, am I going to have to talk myself into a quarterback? Am I going to have to talk myself into a wide receiver, offensive lineman? Like, we don't know. We don't know. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
with that being said,
it's tough. Yeah.
yeah. But, all right. Well, all right, everybody. Don't hurt yourselves because of this team. It'll get better at some point.